So my adventures in fundraising started about 25 years ago. I joined an organisation called Round Table, and in Southend I joined number 106. Their big fundraiser every year is a fireworks display, and we'll raise anything up to £30,000 in an evening. The money's to be spent on small charities in the local area. And to distribute those after the fireworks, we have a position which is Community Service Chairman. Community Service Chairman is the sort of job that you get voted to do when you leave the room. I found myself as Community Service Chairman, the role is to evaluate the applications that we have come in, research them, then in front of your peers put forward proposals. They will then question you, vote, and they may or may not choose to donate money to the proposals. It was a job I took to diligently. I would go out, I would review the proposals, I would go out, I would meet people, I would go and see them, I would come back and I would, to my peers, propose various items, and some they would vote for and some they wouldn't, which was irksome. What I found at that stage was that it was extremely difficult to evaluate small charities. It was extremely difficult to give to small charities in the knowledge that we weren't going to make a mistake. We were very aware that we had a responsibility with the money that we'd raised, that we spend it wisely, and we needed to be careful with it. And if anything, it made us, I would say, my peers, a little too cautious. I then, as Community Service Chairman, one of the proposals was that we donate to a newly established fund in Southend, the Southend Community Fund. It was one of the first funds that was started by the ECF, or under the ECF umbrella, and it particularly appealed to Round Tablers because it was match funded. And as businessmen, the idea of each pound we put in and we got another quid added, we rather liked that idea. So we chipped in a fairly healthy amount. There was a big debate at Round Table, and I nipped out to the loo, and when I came back, much to their mirth, not only had they decided that they would donate a sizable amount, but they would also accept that Round Table would have a place on the board of the Southend Community Fund, and it would be me. Well, as it happened, that slightly backfired because I really enjoyed it. I found it very interesting. What I found extremely helpful was the fact that the ECF were able to evaluate charities, give us good quality proposals, but also follow through. The one thing I could never do with Round Table and didn't have the time or the ability was to follow up with charities to see how the money was being spent. Somehow, as we move on, I find myself being asked to take over as Chairman of Trustees of a small charity in Southend, Southend Blind Welfare, where I find myself now. And I think from what I've learned in my last couple of years, if there's one thing that I'm becoming more and more sure of, and that is that small charities have to work extremely hard to get funding. And I'm sure it will get even harder. The one thing that frustrates me a little is that funding is often around projects, and that and as a tabler, we wanted to put a rondel on it. So if we would donate things that we donated lifeboats, we donated all sorts of things, but we wanted a rondel on it because it showed our members and other people that we'd been there. I would say, if you're thinking about giving, don't always link it to a proposal that's a specific project. Be prepared to gamble and just spend it on core funding, electric, wages. These are all things that we need support with. And sometimes I feel that small charities are jumping through hoops, perhaps unnecessarily, that perhaps we don't appreciate as donors, makes life much harder for them rather than easier. just coming back to my point about core funding, the people are helped by small charities in a myriad of ways. It makes up the fabric of our community. And whether it's in our organisation, someone who's sighted helping in the shop, meeting their friends a couple of times a week, perhaps someone who's visually impaired coming and working in the equipment centre or in the shop. These are little strands that build people's lives and knit us all together. And so if you are thinking of funding and you are thinking of how to do it, don't necessarily go for specific projects. Be relaxed and consider core funding. Thank you very much.